Hello. A while back I made a video about mistakes that EV drivers make, especially early on in their EV ownership, but also things that can last a really long time. But anyway, I got a bunch of questions in the comments of that video. Some of them were things that I got wrong, though not in like big important ways that makes me feel like I need to issue a whole correction about it. Like for example, this first question that I'm going to do, but others are just like good questions about the sort of state of electric vehicles and what to do about it. So I'm going to hit some of those today. We got our first one from Fishy Boy. This is the most common question in the comments. What do you mean you've never used the brakes in your car? So I have used the brakes in my car. The thing about electric cars is they wear down the brake pads much slower because the majority of the braking is being done with regenerative braking. And that does not use the brake pads. It uses electromagnets. So very basically the way that an electric car works is there's energy, electricity stored in the battery, and then that gets turned into movement forward with electromagnets. But you can also do that backwards, where you can basically run the system in reverse and you can slow the wheel down and take the kinetic energy of moving forward and have that energy flow back into the battery. And that's the vast majority of braking in an electric car. The only times you're going to use your brake pads are when you're going very slow or you're braking very hard. When would I ever brake very hard? But of course I have used the brakes. I've used the brakes in situations where I've had to slam on them, or I've used the brakes in situations where I am going very slow. So just like rolling forward a little bit and then pushing on the brakes is going to use the brake pads rather than regenerative braking, just because there isn't enough energy there. I think that's how that works. All right, the second most common question. I said that charging with a level 1 is like the same level of efficiency as charging with a level 2. You do, I think, get very slightly better efficiency with level 2. So slightly more of the electricity gets in your car, but this is like car dependent and battery dependent, and I don't think it's a huge deal. Because I got this question so much, I reached out to my authority on all of this, Alec from Technology Connections, and he says it's less efficient, but how much that matters depends on the car and also where you're charging, because if it's outside and if it's cold, which actually is a thing for me, a lot of the energy is going to be to condition the battery to accept the charge, so to warm up the battery, which isn't charging anything. So a longer charge will be less efficient than a shorter charge. But the inefficiency, last I checked, is marginal enough that it would take years to save the money of installing a level 2 charger. I think it's a case where nerds know too much and get regular folks worried about stuff that they don't need to worry about. One of the things that I worry about with electric vehicles is like getting really granular and making it seem like there is so much to know and learn that it's like a huge learning curve to buy the car, which I just don't think is the case. And that includes people who think that they need a level 2 charger at home when they might not. And also in a hot environment, it might be even more inefficient because there's battery conditioning going on and that takes some electricity. EVs don't make sense. How do EVs save the environment if the electricity is still coming from the same polluting sources? It's the same thing we've been seeing the whole time. Two ways. First, internal combustion engines, the kind of engine that gasoline engines are very inefficient. They produce huge amounts of heat, way more heat than they produce motion. This is basically like having a billion tiny power plants in every person's car. And if you build one big power plant, it's going to be way more efficient than if you build a billion tiny ones. So a huge amount of the energy of gasoline is lost inside of the engine. Also, a huge amount of the energy of gasoline is kind of lost in transporting and refining the gasoline. So around 20% of the carbon emissions of gasoline happen before you burn it. That's in the transportation, it's in the refinement, it's in getting it to the gas station, it's in getting it out of the ground. Possibly significantly more than that, because now that we're fracking a lot of methane is getting released into the atmosphere, and that's a very potent greenhouse gas. Maybe as much as 45% of the warming we are experiencing right now is from methane, and a lot of that, counterintuitively, is being produced by oil drilling, where the methane comes out when you drill for oil and you frack, and that releases the methane. Oil companies try to capture it because it's valuable stuff, where they try to capture it and flare it so that it's not being released directly in the atmosphere. But regardless, all of that stuff is a lot of carbon impact for a little bit of moving forward. In the case of EVs, you do lose power on the transmission lines. Also, of course, a power plant isn't perfectly efficient, but you have a bunch of other advantages, including that a lot of our power, and an increasing amount, is coming from renewable sources like solar and wind. And yes, nuclear, in your case here, I think is a great example of a power that I would be happy to have my car be run by, because it isn't dumping tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, which is bad. It's bad, and it's not something that we want. But if you look at the details, you see that electric vehicles are much more carbon efficient. That for every mile they move, they release far less carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And importantly, that continues to go down as we move into the future and take more coal-fired power plants offline and build more solar and wind. And so every year you have your EV. it gets cleaner. Wild. Which reminds me, actually, this video is brought to you by EcoGeek. It's a line of eco-friendly cleaning products that use minimal plastic, simple ingredients, and do an amazing job of cleaning your dishes, your laundry, and your hands, likely for less money than you are currently paying. And also, 100% of the profit from these products, 100%, not like 10% or a portion or whatever, 100% gets donated to the Coral Reef Alliance, an organization working hard to protect and study coral reefs so that they can be more resilient, which they desperately need in a world where possibly the temperature is going to keep going up, which I'll talk about a little bit more later in the episode. I recently interviewed the executive director over there on this channel, and she helped me understand that there is indeed so much we can do to protect reefs even as the climate warms, and every bit of that work is necessary. The EcoGeek line has so many cool and good and powerful and useful products, and one of the ways they save you money and the environment is by shipping the active ingredients, not the water that they are normally dissolved in. So if you want a spray cleaner, you can get this reusable, very nice glass spray cleaner bottle. And then inside of this, I currently have a little tab, and that tab has all of the active ingredients that you usually buy in a spray cleaner, but without all the water that you're shipping around to the grocery stores so that you can buy it and not just fill it up with water yourself, which is something that comes out of a hole in your house. Why are you paying for all that water? I honestly think it's just because it feels better and more valuable than just paying for the stuff that's in the water. But this should be the normal way. This should be the normal way, and you can do that at EcoGeek. It's at good.store. That's a whole URL. Good.store. And there's also a link in the description. Does Hank live in LA, I'm guessing? Most of his points make no sense for a lot of America. 12 hours for 30 miles is horrible. He must not have a commute. I live in Missoula, Montana. I don't know why LA would not be this way. I mean, LA does basically, it's very hard to have a very long commute in distance because it becomes a very long commute in hours. 5 miles can take like an hour in LA depending on the time of day. But basically, I live in a small town. It would be very hard for me to drive 30 miles in a day. I think importantly, I underestimated the amount of charge that I get overnight charging. I get more than 30 miles. I get more like 45 or 60, depending on when I arrive home and when I leave in the morning. And many people ask this. I currently drive an Ioniq 5. For most of my electric car life, I have driven a Chevy Bolt. But depending on the efficiency of your car, you can expect anywhere from 30 to 60 miles of added range in 12 hours. You'll probably be parked longer than 12 hours, but that's a good rule of thumb. If you have a bigger car, it's going to be smaller. And all I'm saying is if you have a longer commute than that or a less efficient car than me, then you'll probably want to install a level 2, but you don't need that if you don't have that situation in your life. Why can't EVs use a charger that goes off the wheels going round and round? Why is that not a thing? It is. It's called regenerative braking, which we talked about already in this video. Of course, it's not going to capture all of that energy, and of course, it's not going to capture more of that energy because of the first law of thermodynamics, but also no machine is perfect, and so some of that energy is going to get lost. But this is one of the ways that EVs extend their range, and because basically all you have to do is run that engine in reverse, it's very easy. All EVs use regenerative braking. Aren't electric car batteries the exact same technology as phone batteries, lithium-ion batteries? Why would it be crazy to assume they deteriorate like a cell phone battery does? It's not crazy. It's not crazy at all to assume that. That would be a totally normal thing to assume. However, it turns out that they are not the exact same technology as phone batteries. There are many kinds of lithium-ion batteries. There are many different cathodes and anodes. There are many different ways to build them and many different ways to condition the battery so that it can last a longer or a shorter amount of time. So one of the things I think is that right now used EV prices are artificially depressed because we think that they're the same kind of technology as phone batteries. So we think that our cars are only going to last a few years when in fact they are going to last much longer than that. But people don't know that because they don't realize that they are actually a different technology. So it's a normal thing to assume. I don't think people are crazy for assuming it. I just want people to know that it's actually not true. Buy a used EV and get a screaming deal on it. Have you ever covered Aptera? I really hope they make it. Man, I was covering Aptera before some of you were born. Do I think they will make it? No. I could do a whole video on Aptera. Shirts and pants. Did you meet Christosphere? This is a weird reference, but yes, I did meet Christosphere. I made a little Instagram reel about it, which you can watch on Instagram if you want. You said you have a road trip car. Isn't that 3 years of emissions just to build one car? If you need a road trip car, make it work with your electric or don't get an EV. I don't have like 2 cars for me. Many households in America have more than one commuter in them, and I live in one of those households, so we have 2 cars. We have a road trip car. You know, we've had it for over 10 years, and we have our Ioniq 5. And like the Ioniq 5 honestly is a fine road trip car. But many households are 2-car households. And in that situation, one of those cars, if you are buying a new car, if you're getting, not a new car, but if you're getting a new car, if you're replacing an existing car, you should definitely be getting an EV because you don't have to worry about road trips because you already have a gas car. So if you have 2 cars, one of them should be an EV. Both of them could be, but one of them definitely should be. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. If you're a 1-car household, I still think you should have an EV if you have a place to plug it in at home. Now, if that car is going to be a Chevy Bolt, maybe if you go on super long road trips, you're going to want to rent a car in that situation because Bolts charge really slow. But if it's the next generation Bolt, which I assume will be coming out soon, it will probably be a great road trip car as long as the places where you're traveling have fast chargers along the way. Anyway, there's lots of content on YouTube about how to do road trips in EVs, and I've done it before, and it's great. It is not weird. I like it. I like it, and it's cheap, and it's good, and I like it. Hank, I'm curious. What do you say to younger folks who don't have a house and don't see themselves being able to get a house anytime soon, if ever? I would love to get an EV and have been thinking about it more lately. Currently, I'm at my mom's place so I could charge at home, but I won't be here forever. And when I do move back out into an apartment, it's shrug if I would have EV charging opportunities at the apartment. Absolutely. This is a huge problem with urban planning. It's a huge problem with EVs. EVs work best for people who have a place to charge. Many apartment communities do not have places to charge. They should be installing them. This should be being subsidized by the government. It's not that expensive. Adding a bunch of level 2 chargers, as long as you have regular parking areas, would be the kind of thing that you would start to expect to see in new apartment communities, but retrofitting is going to be more expensive. So this is a huge problem. In your case, I would buy a used hybrid or a gas car. Wait, why would you need to get your tires rotated? The mechanic should automatically put the least worn tires on the drive axles when you change over from your summer tires to your winter ones, right? Many people don't switch between summer and winter tires. We only do that with Catherine's car. We don't do it with the Ioniq. Having 2 sets of winter tires is expensive. Switching them over is a pain in the butt. But yeah, if you do switch between summer and winter, you don't have to get your tires rotated. You spent $40,000 minimum on a new electric vehicle and you don't have the $500 max to get a 220 volt in your garage. I'm crashing out here. What are you doing? Evan, this is what I'm saying. That car, the car I drive, an Ioniq 5, 2 years ago, if I had bought it new, would have been more than $40,000. I got it for $22,000. And I absolutely do have the $500 to get a level 2 charger installed. I just don't have a lifestyle that would require that. I don't drive my car enough that I need to charge more than 40 or 50 miles a night. Never in my life have I driven 40 miles a day. Now, many people do. That's a normal thing. There's lots of people who have 40-mile commutes. I don't have that. But even if I did drive 40 miles, like a level 1 would still be enough. My commute would have to be over 60 miles a day for me to need to have a level 2 charger at home. But I don't. My car is always at the level of charge I set it at, which is 80% unless I'm about to go on a road trip and then I charge up to 100%. So I could absolutely spend the $500. In fact, probably we will do that fairly soon because we're going to have both the cars be electric. And in that case, it'd be nice to have a fast charger or a faster charger at home. I've got a related question to the other apartment question. What do you think about the feasibility of phasing out gas cars when it comes to accessibility for apartment renters in middle density cities with bad transit? As a city planner, married to a city planner, we often think of EV implementation in terms of housing. It feels like this will be a hurdle for EV policy. I completely agree with you. This is a huge issue, especially if you're going to talk about phasing out gas cars. Now, importantly, selling the last gas car in 2035, which is not going to happen, but if it did happen, that would mean that there would be a thriving used market for gas cars for at least a decade after that. Part of the idea of places like California wanting to not sell gas cars anymore is to basically say you're going to have charging infrastructure at apartment communities. However, I'm aware that not everybody's going to have charging at their home in 20 years. So we do need to have solutions to that problem. And I think that I agree with you completely. It is going to be a huge hurdle when it comes to sort of the last mile of getting rid of gasoline vehicles. And I think that that's going to take longer than most people in my position think. Now, in America, most people live in single family homes. They have the opportunity to do charging at home, but around a third of America and much higher than that in certain municipalities don't live in single family homes, don't have a parking spot, don't have a way to charge at home, and it's going to be difficult to get there. And in those situations, this is a really big deal because fast charging, which is what you would end up doing in that situation, is much more expensive than charging at home. So that's basically an extra cost cost on people who have less. So people who have a home get to fill their car up for 5 times less than people who have to drive to a fast charger to fill up. And that's not good. Now, probably they aren't going to be paying more than they would be paying for gasoline. They'll probably be paying a little bit less than they'd be paying for gasoline. But this is still like an inequality thing where people who have single family homes, who are more likely to be more affluent, are going to pay less for their fuel, while people who live in apartments are going to be more likely to need to pay more for their fuel because they're going to have to drive to a fast charger where there's all of this infrastructure and stuff necessary, and also economics that's going to make it so that they're going to have to pay more. And finally, let's end with this because I'm late to get to the gym because I got to get pumped. Battery life and replacement, I saw this a few times, is a far bigger issue than you're admitting. No, it's not. It's not. People are way freaked out about this. There's a company called Geotab. They do vehicle telematics. They're based in the UK. Their findings show that EV batteries can last 20 plus years. Now, they're going to lose range in that time, but they're going to last more than 20 years. And for some people, range isn't as big of a deal, so they're going to get a screaming deal on a car because they only travel 10 miles a day. Because even though this car that may originally have had 375 miles range now only has 200-mile range, but they only travel 20 miles a day, and a lot of people aren't going to want that car, and so they're going to get a great deal on it. It is a different way to imagine the situation. The range of a gas car doesn't go down with life. But just because the range of an EV goes down doesn't mean it's scrap metal. And also, it might be important for people to know that charging with DC fast chargers is going to decrease the life of your vehicle. Charging constantly to 100% and keeping it 100% is going to increase the speed at which the range decreases. But with current batteries, not just being sold today, but batteries being sold 5 or 10 years ago, we're seeing cars that are going to last more than 20 years. You're saying in this comment that this is why they lose value so fast, not that the newer ones are better. They're often not. Yes, they are. But because people know that their battery is going to take a on them sooner or later, and when it does, the value of the car drops to a mere fraction of what it's worth as a usable battery. This is wrong. The reason why the car values are going down is in part because the new cars are better, but also in part because people think what you think. You think an incorrect thing, and many people agree with you, and so they are not buying used EVs because they're worried about a problem that actually doesn't exist. Now, there are other reasons to not buy used cars. A lot of people came from me, they're like, that I love to buy a new car, and I'm like, okay, if you want to buy a new car, that's fine. But in my opinion, the lifetime of the battery is the thing that people are way over worrying about. Speaking of which, this one's wild. A bit strange to say that buying a new EV is dumb when you could just buy used. Where do you think the used cars come from? If everyone follows this advice, there's no more used cars. Yeah, no, I mean, I agree, but there are currently. Currently, there's plenty of used cars, and they have low prices. And my car cost $22,000 when 2 years ago I could have bought it for $42,000. I don't know, I saved $20,000 by having a 2-year-old car. That seems like a good deal to me. As long as that's a deal that's available, I think we should take it. That's all. If a bunch of us do this, would that drive up the price of used EVs? Yeah, but currently that hasn't happened. So take the W, everybody. Go get a used EV. And now I'm back. I don't even remember what I had to do, but I did it, and now I'm back. And I'm gonna play Connections. Count harp, bird wings. Harp has strings. Harp is a kind of beer. Harp. I like harp. Harp is also like a thing you can do, like you can harp on something. Harpo Marx. Harp. Harp. It's like an Irish symbol of Ireland. And of Guinness beer. Count, harp, bird, wings, chic, chic, grouch, blues, marks. Oh, I'm annoyed already. Monster, robe, chemical current, blood fresh, halo happening. I found nothing. Nothing popped out at me at all. This is worrying. Oh no, that usually I get something in the first round, like just going through it. Count and grouch, these are, and Cookie Monster, these are, and bird, big bird. Cookie Monster, Oscar the Grouch, The Count, and Big Bird. Those? Okay. That might be it. Okay, I've got another one here. Fresh, chic, current, happening. Okay. And then there's this and this. So we've got blood, wings, harp, chemical, halo. What? A harp and a halo and wings are all angel things. But what's the third one? Blood? No. Bloody angel? Oh, bloody angel. How I love him. Blues. Robe. All right, and that leaves us with chemical, blues, wings. Wait, what did I miss? Wings and blood. Chemical, romance, blues, clues. Wings is a television show from the 80s. It was good. It was good. I should watch Wings. I should find some Wings and watch it. That show kicked ass. It was like a bunch of just like weirdos running a small airport. Wow. I loved that show as a kid. I should check out Wings and be disappointed probably. Chemical, blues, wings, blood. Blue blood, blue blues, blood. Wings. I don't know, man. This is going to be a surprise, but I think I got it. I didn't. What did I get wrong? What did I do wrong? Count, bird, grouch, monster, fresh, current, happening, robe, harp, halo, wings, frick. Ah! No! Whatever. I still get purple first. Marx. Okay. Does that help me at all? Marx. Karl Marx? Karl Blues? Marxism? Bluesism? Blood Marx Blues. Chemical. Chemical is a weird one in there. Because like blood marks blues, that sounds like it could be like homophones for something, but chemical is not a homophone for anything. Blood Marx Blues. Blue blood, blues, clues, Marx Brothers. Blues Brothers. Blood Brothers. Chemical Brothers? Chemical Brothers? I'm sure that's a thing. It's the brothers, everybody! I got it! I got it. I got it. All right. That counts, by the way. If you don't know, I started playing Connections after chemotherapy in part to like convince myself that I hadn't gotten dumber during chemo. Because I was definitely dumber during chemo. But was I dumber after chemo? And as part of this is holding a bunch of information in my head all at once, which is like why I try to get purple first so that I can sit here and think about that. But that means that I mess up sometimes, and I messed up that time. What is going to be next? Is it going to be count, bird, monster? That seems like it. Well, no, probably the harp, halo. Well, I don't know. That could go either way. I'm going to go with count, bird, monster, and grouch. And that's the green, isn't it? No, I did it. Yes. Okay, perfect reverse rainbow, everybody. Harp, wings, robe, halo. If you're wondering, they go in order of difficulty. The purple's the hardest, the yellow's the easiest, and I think this is going to be the green, which is the second easiest. And I was right. Chic, fresh, current happening. All right, everybody. Good connections. Check out EcoGeek. It's a line of eco-friendly cleaning products, and it's very good. And you should sign up. And if you get subscriptions, you get like extra discounts. Subscriptions are where it's at. Love a subscription. If you get a subscription, I think you get a freebie right now. So check it out. I could be wrong about that.